Hey there, welcome to the new Student Orientation Facebook Live with Housing and Residence Life. My name's Chris Bruno, I'm the Director of Customer Service and Operations, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hey, I'm Catherine Ellsworth. I'm a Marketing and Communications Specialist with Campus Services.
And we're here to welcome you to this Facebook Live event covering all things housing and residence life. We have a long agenda today to cover all the topics with you. We have some helpers behind the scenes that will answer some of your questions for you. So please type into the chat box any questions you might have based on the information we're covering, and we'll be happy to answer those at the end.
Yeah, and your participation today is going to get you some cool things. So parents, if you're joining us, leave a really cool question down below, some thoughts that are in your mind, and we're going to be picking 30-ish or so parents that are going to receive a parent t-shirt that says from our nest to the owl's nest. We made them last year and they were so popular, like a huge hit.
And it's exclusive,
It
right?
is exclusive.
Yeah.
So we're going to be giving a few of those away today and in some of our future events as well, and maybe even at move-in. But don't fret if you don't get to win one today. We're going to have them for sale as well through the KSU bookstore. But if you do want a chance to win, make sure you put a comment down below and we will be reaching out to you. So a really cool way to participate. Before we get started today, we actually have a video that we want to show you that's going to give a really good overview of housing, and then we're going to get into some more details.
Housing and Residence Life offers many great amenities to students living on campus, from conveniently located communities that are close to everything campus has to offer, to fun and educational programs organized by our professional staff, as well as residential assistants, or RAs. We have several first-year communities between both campuses, which include KSU Place, University Village, and University Village Suites in Kennesaw, and Hornet Village and University Columns in Marietta. Visit our website at ksuhousing.kennesaw.edu to take a virtual tour of each of these communities and to check out the amenities available in each bedroom, apartment, and community. Have you already applied for housing? If so, great. If not, you need to do this as soon as possible. Housing on campus is extremely limited and there is a lot of demand, so apply as soon as you receive your acceptance letter to KSU. If you applied for housing but you were placed on a wait list, don't panic. Every year we move hundreds of students from our wait list into rooms before the semester begins. You can check your place on the wait list in the housing portal at housing.kennesaw.edu. We will call and email you with a room offer as soon as one becomes available. If you applied for housing and have a confirmed room booking, congratulations! You can now prepare for move-in. You will find a helpful pre-arrival checklist on the housing website. Again, you'll find that at ksuhousing.kennesaw.edu. Some of these items include making your housing payment before the deadline, creating a unique lock pin for your apartment door, completing immunization requirements, and more. You can also find a packing list on our website with everything you need to bring with you when you move to campus, plus a list of prohibited items that you should leave at home. We encourage you to chat with your roommate or roommates about which items each of you are bringing for your shared spaces to avoid duplicates. Once you get to campus, the fun really begins. We have move-in weekend events that kick off the first night of move-in, and there are tons of events happening around campus the first few weeks of school. There will be plenty of opportunities to get involved and make new connections within your housing community and around campus. Visit the housing website, ksuhousing.kennesaw.edu, for more information, and reach out to the Talon One Service Center with your questions. We can't wait to meet you and welcome you to the nest.
Was that awesome or what?
Love that video.
Love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know Catherine and Tiffany behind the scenes, they worked to get that video made. Super helpful information. We want to dive a little bit deeper into the wait list and what that means.
Yeah.
So like the video said, if you have a room for fall, congratulations. You're all set. Once we start communicating about move-in, you'll get a ton of information about the next steps. For those of you that are on the wait list though, don't fret. Don't lose hope yet. There's still time. Part of my role with Housing and Residence Life is I work with our occupancy management team. So this is the team of staff members who place people on rooms from the wait list. And we do have a little bit of a long wait list right now, but so far to date, we've placed a little over 300 students from the wait list into a room for fall.
That's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's trending ahead of what we were doing last year with our wait list placements. So what does it mean to be on the wait list? All it means is that we don't have a room for you right now at this very moment. It doesn't cost anything to add yourself to the wait list. So if you're a student still wondering if you want to live on campus or if you're exploring off-campus options, go ahead and throw your name on the wait list. And if we have a room come open, like the video said, we will call and we will also send you an email. Now, one of the things we've noticed over the past couple weeks is that students either haven't set up a voicemail box on their cell phone yet, or their mailboxes are full. So there have been a lot of students. We've placed 300 and they've secured rooms for fall, but there have been another 75 to 100 students that we've had to drop. So if you get a wait list placement, you get 48 hours to pay your room booking fee, and we will email you at your KSU student email account, and we will also attempt to call you just to let you know, hey, the clock is ticking, you've got 48 hours to confirm this room. And we've had to drop a lot of students because they haven't paid that fee within the 48-hour period.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're on the wait list waiting, please clear out your voicemail box and also set it up if you haven't before. You'll get a call from a 470-578 number. That's what all of our office extensions start with that. So if you see that show up on your phone, you're going to want to answer it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the wait list. If you're on there, great. There's no cost, no fees associated with putting your name on the wait list. So please go do that today, and you never know if we're going to call and email you with a room offer.
Yeah, so please be watching your student emails. It is so important that you check your KSU student emails. I think a lot of students feel like we might email them to their Gmail or their Yahoo or whatever personal account you have, but we won't. So any communication, and we're going to talk about more communications throughout this Facebook Live event, are all going to be going to that student email. So really important. So now we're going to transition and we're going to talk a little bit about life on campus and what it's like to live here at KSU and some of the information that we feel is really important to make your stay with us really successful. And one of the things that we've been getting a lot of questions about is, what is KSU doing to keep me safe? What is KSU doing in terms of COVID-19? So Chris, can you tell us a little bit about those precautions that we're going to be taking?
Absolutely. We're happy to talk about this. COVID-19 is a topic that is on the forefront of everyone's minds. With students planning to come back to campus in August, we're very excited to plan for that, but also put in all the safety measures that we might need to take place. And if you've been anywhere out in public the last couple months, you've seen those little stickers on the ground that explain, please practice social distancing. We're going to have those markers throughout our housing areas, including in our elevator spaces, just to have guidelines of what elevator use should look like. Masks will be strongly encouraged with residents. They won't be required, and we are going to give you a mask at move-in. So when you show up to move in, each student is going to get a mask, also some hand sanitizer, just to keep themselves safe. Each student is going to have to be their own health agent, as we're calling it. So each student will be responsible for following the rules, following the guidelines, keeping themselves and their roommates safe. And I'll tell you, one of the hot topics amongst different universities across the country are bathrooms. Do you have communal bathroom spaces where multiple students on a floor are going to be sharing that space? Well, at KSU, our students are very lucky. Almost every single student has access to their own private bathroom, with a few exceptions based on different communities and floor plans. So some of you will have a bathroom all to yourself. Some may share it with one other person, and others may share it with their suite, which is at max 4 people in a suite. So we're excited about that we don't have to worry about communal bathroom spaces and having to sanitize and clean those multiple times a day. We are going to have a lot of communication, a lot of posters out there to educate students about what they should be doing, both within their spaces and within our residence halls. We're working really closely with our environmental health and safety office just to put together some guidelines for the return to campus. And then also, you'll be hearing from your RAs a lot of information at your first floor meetings about how students are going to keep themselves safe, the measures that our department is doing to keep students safe. So yeah, we're doing a lot. It's something we talk about every single day.
Yeah, and safety is so important for us. And another way that we really focus on keeping students safe is through our partnership with Campus Police. Students who have attended orientation already are going to have heard from our campus police department and the things that they do to keep our students safe. I mean, one of the things that we highly encourage all residential students to do is download that Live Safe app. It is such a good way to have instant connection to campus police and make you feel really safe on campus. And another thing that we do is really highly encourage students to participate in some of the safety education that our campus offers, like Campus Safety Day, which is done by Environmental Health and Safety. And we test the fire alarms on on our buildings constantly. So throughout the semester, students will get notification on how fire drills need to happen and what fire safety looks like in their buildings. And for access is something that we take really, really seriously with our students. So every student will have their talent card, which is their student ID, and their talent card, apart from getting them into the dining halls and being able to do so many other great things, are crucial in getting them into their residence halls. So that is the way that they're going to enter their rooms and their residence halls. And students will also have a hard key to their private bedrooms as well. So we really make sure to encourage students not to share their talent card, because sharing your talent card is giving access to your personal belongings, to your personal space. So that's one thing that we encourage and talk about often, is that issue of access and making sure that you keep your talent card safe. And we have on-call staff 24/7. And when we mean 24/7, we mean on holidays, we mean during bad weather, any day, anytime. We've got professional staff that is living here on campus to assist your students. So your students' first point of contact will always be that resident assistant, that RA, but past that person, we've got residence directors and area coordinators that are there to be, you know, just resources for your students and there for them at any point in time. One of the things that we do get questions about is renter's insurance, and is it required, is it not required, why do I need it? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So another really great fact about our residence halls is that we have, all of our buildings are fully sprinkled. So we have a sprinkler system in place that if there were a fire or an event that needed water suppression, we have a system in place to do that. And each unit also has a fire extinguisher inside of it. And so we take that very seriously. I will say, when I hear the word sprinklers, I think of water damage.
Yeah.
And renter's insurance ties into that very closely, because we do have a few events. It seems like we have one big event every year where there might be a small kitchen fire or something like that. The sprinkler system goes off, the fire is suppressed, but then the water damages things. So renter's insurance, while we don't require it, we strongly recommend that each resident get renter's insurance for themselves. Now, if you have a parent or guardian who has a homeowner's policy, there is a chance that the student could be added as a rider to that policy, and it's very cheap. I have renter's insurance for myself. It costs me $130 a year just to insure the belongings that I have in my house. We get asked a lot, how much should I cover? And that's a personal decision. It depends on how much items students have in their residence hall room, but we generally say $10,000 worth of liability coverage should replace all of your belongings should something happen, and we definitely recommend that y'all look into it. There's a couple companies out there, if you were to Google college student renter insurance, that will pop up on your Google search. We don't have a relationship with any of them. We just ask everybody to do their own research, find the best plan for them, and maybe just tack on to your parent or guardian's homeowner's policy.
Yeah. One of the things that we said last year was, like, a lot of people are like, well, I won't be doing anything. It's like, it's not always about you. You could be really, really smart, but you may not be able to say the same thing about your neighbors.
Yes.
So it's just a good idea to keep yourself safe.
College is a great time, but you don't always know the caliber of student you're living next to in the residence hall. And so we have had situations where somebody did something silly in their room, caused a sprinkler to go off, and it flooded someone else's room and damaged their belongings.
Yeah.
And Kennesaw State University, we don't replace any belongings lost to an accident like that. We work with each student individually, but we don't cover the cost to replace items that are lost due to damage like that.
Yeah.
And we also have, a lot of rules for living on campus. Catherine was talking about safety on campus. It's something we take very seriously. And we do have two sets of rules that govern on-campus living. We have the Residential Code of Conduct, which is through our Student Conduct and Academic Integrity Office, or the acronym is SCI. And then we also have the Residential Handbook. It's a guide to living on campus. It's available on our housing website under the resources section. And that's going to outline all the rules that we have for students to keep them safe on campus, and two, just to give them a framework of what life is like as an adult living in on-campus housing.
Yeah, and in that residential handbook, which will be updated for the 2020-21 year, it goes over things such as quiet hours and what that looks like in the residence halls. We do have to enforce quiet hours because Your education is the most important thing. So we do enforce quiet hours to make sure that everyone has time to study if they choose to do so in those residence halls, and visitation hours. So visitation hours is something that we do get asked about a lot. Can my friend come over? Can my mom come visit me? And yes, they absolutely can. The rules for visitation hours will probably look different this year just because of COVID-19. So we will be updating our visitation hours in that residential handbook very soon, and you will actually be getting a copy of it directly sent to you. So just be on the lookout for that. In that residential handbook, we also talk about smoke and tobacco-free campus. So Kennesaw State, we don't smoke.
You can't chew tobacco, you can't dip, you can't vape, you can't do any of that on campus.
No Juul pods or electronic cigarettes are allowed either. If you are smoking, it will probably trigger some kind of alarm, and you don't want that happening. So make sure that you just keep that in mind. And if you do need to smoke or have the desire to do so, go off campus to do it.
Absolutely.
We are also enforcing our alcohol and drug policies. So alcohol rules are the exact same as they are anywhere in the United States. If you're not 21, don't do it.
And if you live in a building that is designated as first-year housing, it's completely dry, as we call it. So no alcohol at all in those buildings.
And drugs are absolutely not allowed. So if we do find out of some sort of drug incident, that will automatically be referred to or assigned to campus police, and that will be a criminal situation that will have to be dealt with campus police. So just keep those things in mind. College is really fun, and there's so many exciting things that happen in the residence halls, but we do still have to keep rules for your safety. And then the last thing we already talked about was that access and that Talent card. You're going to hear it so many times, but do not share your Talent card. That access on that card is really the way that you keep your belongings safe. So you don't want to share it with anyone, including your best friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Just keep it to yourself.
Yeah, treat it like a debit card. Pretend like it has money on there that someone could take from you. If someone has your Talent card and your PIN, they could get into your apartment and then take whatever they wanted. So again, follow Catherine's advice, keep that safe and secure, and keep all your belongings safe and secure.
Yeah.
And roommates is something we're getting a lot of questions about.
Yeah.
Living on campus at college, sometimes you might be sharing a space for the first time. It's a really fun time. We're getting questions about how do I contact my roommates. And I do want to give a shameless plug for our brand new podcast.
Yes.
It's called Live Your Nest Life. It's a little pun for Kennesaw State and our owls. Live Your Nest Life. We just released episode 3 last week. But our very first episode of that podcast, we brought 2 RAs on to talk about life with roommates and things that students could anticipate, and then questions to ask your potential roommates. But one of the most common questions is, how do I get in touch with my roommates? So if you have a confirmed reservation for fall 2020, if you go to the housing portal and click on the roommate and room selection tab, the very last step in there is just a confirmation page that will show you your room assignment, who you're rooming with, and then it will give you the opportunity to look at their profile. And on the profiles this year, we allowed students to share their social media handles on Instagram, Snapchat, and then provide a cell phone number and an email address. Now, we don't know that information if the student didn't provide it. So if you go there and you can't see anything, there is also a messaging feature within the housing portal where you can click on the top left menu and go into messages and then message your potential roommate. And if you still can't get in touch with them, give us a call. We can't share their contact information with you, but we might be able to get creative and help you get in touch with your future roommate. And we do, speaking of rules and regulations, we do have these things we call roommate agreements. And this is very much like a contract between you and the people you're living with in your unit. Now, your RA is going to cover this in your first floor meetings, which will happen the Sunday before classes start. And they'll set up an appointment time to come in. It may be done virtually, and do roommate agreements where all of you will outline the different rules for your unit, and it's such things as, I'll take out the trash on these following days, I'll do the dishes on these days, I'll clean the common area on these days. And it's really just a chance to give everyone, maybe for the first time, outline rules and like a chore chart, if you will, and it's a really great opportunity. All of you will sign it. Again, that will be done digitally. You'll sign the agreement, and then that way you have some document that outlines the rules for living within your unit. And if there are ever issues with that where students maybe aren't following the rules that you guys came up with in your agreement, which happens from time to time, we have RAs who can intervene and have a mediation with everybody who's involved. So for the parents out there, let's just say hypothetically something happens with your student and there's some issue going on within their unit. I know I'm a parent myself and I have 2 little boys, and if someone hurts them or upsets them, I immediately want to jump in and take them under my wing and handle the situation. But for the parents out there, this is a time that's going to be challenging. If your student comes to you and says, you know, my son or daughter is having an issue in their unit, this is what's going on, I need you to address it, we're not going to be able to help you. We need the students to speak for themselves and reach out to their RAs, talk to their roommates. I know they may want to come to you and just ask for advice, so please feel free to give them all the advice you want, but allow your student that opportunity to be an adult on their own and to communicate with their roommates and resolve the issue as best they can.
Yeah, and this is a really good opportunity for us to talk about, you know, the higher education F word, FERPA.
I've never heard it called the higher education F word.
That's how Chelsea in PFA calls it. She calls it the higher education F word, FERPA.
That's great.
So shout out to PFA. They're wonderful resources for all parents and families. We highly encourage you to reach out to their office. But one of the things that they do a really good job explaining is FERPA. And FERPA basically just says, like, once your student gets to KSU or any other higher, you know, education institution, the institution cannot communicate with you. They have to communicate anything that has to do with anything that's happening at the university directly with the student. And that does include housing. So your student, if they want to share their housing information with you, they have to sign a FERPA waiver for housing. So if your student does get in a roommate conflict, or they're behind their housing dues, or they have some sort of situation and you reach out to us about it, we can't communicate anything with private information about your student directly with you unless your student has given us, like, basically permission to do so by FERPA.
But Catherine, I pay the bills. I pay my students' housing fees. What are you saying that you can't talk to me?
It's just the law.
It's the law.
It's the law. Like, we legally cannot do it. And we understand that that can be frustrating for a lot of parents, but take this as an opportunity to have good conversations with your students and talk about payment deadlines, talk about registration deadlines and everything like that, and create some kind of calendar, or ask them to give you permission so that you are able to go in and do it yourself.
Yeah, it's very tough, parents and guardians out there. But it's a great opportunity to let your students spread their wings, their owl wings, and leave the nest.
Absolutely. Now we're going to talk about the one thing that everybody wants to talk about.
The M word.
The M word. Move in.
Move in. So let's get to it.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of concrete information to share
We're
today.
sorry.
But we are very close.
So close.
We have a committee of about 35 people who have been involved in the move-in planning process. We've been meeting for about 2 months, maybe a little bit longer now. And we have all of the framework put into place to make move-in the safest possible experience for our students and parents, as painless as possible, as smooth as possible. I anticipate within the next 7 to 10 days, we may be able to release the actual move-in dates and what that process is going to look like for students. It's going to be different than years past, where we would assign times to you to arrive. It may look a little bit different this year. So we're going to have a ton of information on our website, on our social media, everywhere about move-in, what you need to do. We did mail home the move-in save the date card.
Yeah, the postcard.
And if you notice, there weren't dates on there. But they're coming soon. And also, by the way, if you have that card, go ahead and
take a picture with it.
Take a picture with it. The hashtag is
Where Owls Live.
Where Owls Live.
Yeah, so there's information on that postcard. But the good thing is that even though we don't have exact move-in dates yet, we still have a pre-arrival checklist that students can start working on right now. So if you go to our website, under the move-in information, there's a pre-arrival checklist, and it goes through some things that we feel you need to do before you get to campus in order to make your move-in journey as successful as possible. And the first thing is, and you're going to hear this a million more times, checking your email, because we will be communicating you via your student email about how to submit your photo for your talent card. So this year, and you've probably heard this a few times already, but we're doing something different, because usually we would take students' pictures for their talent card at orientation. But because orientation is online, we are doing an online photo submission process for your talent card, which I think is very cool.
I prefer that,
Right,
actually.
because you get to keep taking that picture until you find one that is perfect and that you actually like, because it will be on your ID for the next 4 or 5 years.
Forever, yeah.
Literally.
When I first started at Kennesaw State, I did not have a beard. And so when I grew the beard out and actually looked my age,
you're like, this is actually me.
I want a new picture. So, and I couldn't get one.
Yeah, so we're going to be communicating with you about that photo submission process. Make sure you read it carefully, because there are a few like stipulations that you need to follow, like no sunglasses, no hats, but you know, that will make sure that you are able to get your talent card really easily. And then the second thing is creating your Salto lock pin. So your Salto lock pin is basically the code that you will need to put in before you enter your residence hall. It's just an extra layer of safety for you. So you're going to create a unique code. It has 6 numbers, I believe. Yep. And then after that, you'll tap your talent card and be able to go into your room. So you'll have to create that before coming to campus. The next thing is immunization information. So on the immunization website, all of the information is on there on what you need to do, what vaccines or forms that you need to fill out before coming to campus. And then the fourth thing that people are so excited about is payment.
Right? I mean, you have housing for fall. Who's excited to pay that bill?
Yeah, the parents are like, woo!
They're anxious. So we have some information about that. We do have dates. We are going to bill fall 2020 housing on July 1st.
Yes.
And everything, if you have any family that have ever come to Kennesaw and talked about how payment was done for housing fees, just ignore it, because it's different this year.
Yes.
It's going to be so much better, so much more user-friendly.
Absolutely.
All of the fees for your housing are going to be in your Owl Express account within the student accounts and the Bursar's office. So previously, housing had to be paid in a separate area. This year, everything is going to flow the same place as tuition and fees and meal plan costs. You'll pay your housing costs there as well.
Yeah.
And so typically, your tuition shows up the minute that you register for classes. Housing is a little bit different, but on July 1st, we're going to be pushing those charges into Owl Express so that students and parents can see those. If you have any questions about the methods of payment, I definitely recommend you look at the Bursar's office website.
Yes.
They outline how to pay. They have a Dropbox. You can mail a check. You can't come in person, but they take online payments of all different types. They will outline the different types of cards that they accept online and any additional fees that might be there. But the Bursar's office is your go-to place for questions about that.
Yeah. And the payment deadline for housing is the same as all of your tuition fees. So the same payment deadline as the rest of the university, which is August 31st. It's actually a little bit different than years past.
It is.
So you have more time to make all of those payments, which is great. But definitely, like Chris said, payment information and payment questions, just reach out to the Bursar's office, because they're going to be the best resource for you. And then the last thing on that pre-arrival checklist is your packing list, which I know people are just so excited to see that. And that packing list is actually really thorough. It goes through what to bring for every area of your apartment or suite. And then the most important part on there is the do not pack list. So the do not bring this to campus with you list. We've had a few questions about that. A lot of people are asking, can I bring an air fryer? Can I bring a hot pot? Can I bring a crock pot? And air fryers and things like that are perfectly fine. The rule of thumb is if it's got an exposed heat source, don't bring it. So those like stovetop cookers that you can put pots on, that's a no-no.
Yes.
But an air fryer is perfectly fine.
Air fryer is great, but I will tell you that those fry daddies that actually use oil, if it uses oil, that is also not allowed. That's
Right.
a major fire hazard, especially for students that may not be used to those or be comfortable using a device like that. So please don't bring a fry daddy, but an air fryer is great.
Absolutely. So
Wonderful.
More information in that packing list. It's really thorough. It also has the bed sizes in there. So if you want to start getting sheets and room decorations and things like that, bed sizes are in there for every community.
Right. And as you're packing for move-in, one of my biggest pieces of advice is just pack for 2 months. A lot of you may live in a short enough drive from home where you can bring enough clothes and resources to get through late September, early October. You don't have to pack everything you own. We see a lot of students who come in with 2 cars full of stuff, or
A U-Haul?
possibly
Please don't bring a U-Haul.
a 10 or 12 foot U-Haul. Definitely do not recommend that. If you go on our housing website and click on the floor plans, we do have a measurement tool where you can look at the different dimensions within the units that we have. So you'll know exactly how much space you have to fill. You can figure out what size rug you need to buy or how big the desk is, all those great things. But you don't need a U-Haul full of stuff, I promise.
Absolutely. So as Chris said, please make sure you're continuing to check our website. And one of the great things that you can look at our website is the amenities. So what already comes in my room? It already comes with the bed. It usually comes with the desk. It comes with the gesture. Like, don't bring those things because we're going to provide them for you. So just keep that in mind and keep checking our website. And now we're going to be taking some questions from the audience. So we're ready.
While we're waiting on the questions, we do want to talk about all the great things we're doing to get ready for your move-in experience.
That's true.
So this is another shameless plug for the podcast, episode 3. We had Tara Adams, our Director of Housing Facilities, and Caleb Lee, our Associate Director, come on and talk about all the different checklists that they have. Summer for us is actually our busiest time. So after the students move out, we go through every single bedroom, and our facilities team has a checklist of, do all the light bulbs work? Are all the handles tight and secured? Are there any screws missing? Do all the light switches have covers? Is there anything small or minor that we need to take care of over the summertime? And we go through that list, and then we bring in crews to clean and paint, professionally clean and paint all of our units, every common area. This year we're taking additional measures to make sure everything is sanitized the proper way, using all the protocols and regulations that are outlined for us right now. And so our facilities team, shout out to anybody that's watching. Tara, you said you were going to log in, so I hope you did. Thank you for all the hard work you guys do in the summertime.
Yes.
It does not go unnoticed.
Yeah, they're rock stars. All right, we're ready.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions that you've already answered, but for people that have joined later, just give us a reminder, okay?
Sure.
So where can they find the list of recommended items to bring on move-in day? What should they pack?
Yeah, so on our website right now, there is a move-in page already there, and in that move-in page, there's a section that says pre-arrival checklist. Number 5 of that pre-arrival checklist is the packing list, and if you click it, it will open a PDF, and in that PDF, we've outlined all of the things that we suggest that you bring to campus, as well as the things that we do not want you to bring to campus, the no-nos. So that's on our website right now. Our website is ksuhousing.kennesaw.edu.
Great. Okay. Could you talk a little bit more, Catherine, you touched on this, about the talent card and kind of how students use it to get into their buildings and their rooms?
Yeah, so your talent card is your KSU student ID, and as we've mentioned a few times, students will do an online photo submission process for it, and they will actually pick them up on move-in day.
Move-in, yeah.
Yeah, so on move-in day is when you're going to be receiving your talent card, and your talent card is basically your access into your residence halls and your rooms. So if you are living in a residence hall that's got, like, let's put it, for example, University Village Apartments. University Village Apartments has a door where you have to open the door from the outside, and then you have to walk to your unit, your apartment unit, and you need to use your talent card and your Salto pin to open the door to your unit, and then you will receive like a hard physical key to open your bedroom. Most apartments and suites work the exact same way.
Right.
So you will be receiving your talent card, which gets you into the building, and then it will open the door to your unit, and then your hard key will open the door to your bedroom. So we really just encourage students not to share it. Don't share your Salto lock pin with anyone, because it is one of the biggest ways to keep your items safe and secure. So that's kind of how the talent card works.
Right. And so, as we mentioned before, there will be an online photo submission process for that, and you will receive that card at move-in. So if you are a student who is living on campus or a new student at all coming to Kennesaw, make sure you submit that photo, because if you haven't done that and you arrive for move-in, your process is going to be a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
Because you cannot proceed any further at move-in without your talent card.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's already been a question since you guys started answering this one. Has the information for talent cards been sent out yet? Or, including meal plan information, things like that. That has not gone out yet. This is Tiffany. If you've met me on an orientation session, this is my voice, much like God coming from you during this Facebook Live event. That information hasn't been sent yet, but it will be sent very soon. So that online photo submission process that they have talked about, it's coming soon. Your student will get an email directly to their KSU email, giving them very specific instructions on how they can upload that photo. So hopefully that answers some of the additional questions that have come in since I started asking that last question.
So Tiffany, question in response to that. you're going to email the student. Will the parents also receive an email when it's time?
Great question, Chris. No, the parents will not also receive an additional email saying, hey, it's time for your student to upload their photo. But we partner with parent family programs really closely. And so when that information becomes available and is sent to your student, if you are a member of the parent family programs portal, we will be posting updates there as well. So you can find out that information through the portal. So there's more ways than one to get that update.
Yeah.
Okay, our next question is about move-in, and I understand that move-in information is kind of elusive right now. We don't have the dates yet. We don't have a lot of finalized information yet. So I will ask these questions with that in mind. So, what are the days of move-in? Can we expect them to be right before classes begin? And are the dates tied into certain communities, or is it based on your last name? Basically, how is it determined when you'll move in whenever those dates are announced?
Sure. I'll answer the first part. Historically, our move-in has taken place the weekend before classes start. The classes start August 17th. That's a Monday. And we're going to follow that same pattern where a couple days before before classes start, we'll start the move-in process. And historically, Kennesaw was a 2-day process. Marietta was a 1-day process. I can tell you without giving you exact dates that we will be extending that, where move-in will be more than just 2 days or a 1 day. And in terms of which communities will move in, we're using a little bit different approach. We've reached out to a couple of our sister institutions to see how they're doing it. And each community will be moving in at the same time. So every community will move in on the days of move-in. It won't be like, here's KSU Place that moves in on this day, and University Village that moves in on this day. We are really strategically looking at how to space students out appropriately to safeguard their health and the health of their families that might be helping them move in. And we're taking a more strategic, spread out approach. So hopefully that answers your question. I promise you we'll have much more in-depth information coming soon.
We're going to be shouting it from the rooftops. Don't
Yes.
worry.
We're as excited to finalize the plan as everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, we know how there's been a lot of uncertainty, especially for, those students who had to finish their senior years, in their bedrooms, and they missed so many important events like proms and graduations and things like that. So we know that you're really looking forward to move-in day, and we can guarantee that we are working on a move-in experience that's going to be exciting and welcoming, and it's going to feel like you've been looking forward to this, because we are too. Promise,
Yes.
we missed our students when they left campus, so we're excited to welcome in a new batch of owls that are
Yes.
going to be just excited to live in our nest.
Yeah. We had a move-in meeting on this past Friday, and our AVP, Leslie, she said, last year move-in were my 2 favorite days of the entire school year because of the energy, the excitement, and we're going to do our best to provide that same experience that's exciting and welcoming for everybody that's been cooped up for so long. But we want to do it safely, and we want to make sure that everybody has that same experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if we're getting questions about dimensions of our spaces, could you guys, even if you've already talked on this, could you explain how to use that dimension feature on our virtual tours on our website?
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Bailey. You're an incoming student. We've emailed a couple times about measurements and things like that. On our housing website, if you click on, I believe it's first year student housing information on the left-hand menu, and then click on housing options, you can see the different floor plans. So if you go into the floor plan for your specific room, we have these virtual tours that are amazing, that were done by a professional person who does this 360-degree tours. And if you click within the virtual tour, in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a little ruler. And that is a virtual measurement tool that you can use to measure anything you want within that virtual tour. And the measurements are exact. They are very precise. And so you click on the ruler, and then this little plus sign is going to show up, and it's going to say, add a point where you want to start measuring. So you can add a point to a wall or a desk or a floor, and then stretch it out to however far out you want to measure, and it will give you the exact measurements of that space. We don't have all of the exact dimensions of every window and crawl space and desk height in all of our areas. So if you're interested in that, maybe you want to put up some curtains or any other decorations, go to the virtual tours and then click on the ruler to measure it yourself.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks. Related to that, since you just mentioned curtains, can they hang up their own curtains? Can they use screws or nails or things like that in their space.
So I can hear Tara, our Director of Housing Facilities, talking to me
like,
right now. She's saying, choose your words carefully, Chris. I hear you through the camera, Tara. So can students hang up their own curtains? Yes, absolutely. We want you to make that space yours and decorate it however you see fit so that you're the most comfortable. It's the most like home experience that you can have. But we do have rules and guidelines of what you can use to decorate. So you cannot, well, you can use screws and nails to put things up, but we are going to charge you to repair that when you move out. We do not recommend that at all. We recommend, I won't say the brand name, but there are some really cool adhesive materials that you can use that don't leave a mark or tear off drywall if you remove them properly. We don't have any relationship with that company. But if you want to use adhesive-like materials, they have the poster putty. Don't recommend thumbtacks, no nails, no screws. You cannot mount your TV on the wall. Do not recommend that at all. But using those adhesive strips that don't do any damage, you can hang a lot of stuff with those.
Yeah.
And people have gotten very creative. They have different Velcro patches that you can use on the walls as well now. So yeah, no, hopefully that answers your question.
Great, thank you. So this question is more for the parents that are on this Facebook Live event that have students that are going to be living in our University Village double bedrooms or in maybe an apartment with 5 other people instead of 3 other people like they hoped before the housing selection process began. Can you speak to these parents and talk to them about kind of what extra precautions we're taking inside the bedrooms, what the students that are sharing those bedrooms can expect, and just generally kind of talk to kind of what it looks like for these students that are all going to be sharing somewhat tight quarters in an apartment together?
Yeah, of course. One of the terms we've been using to describe students that are going to live together is a family. So with all the new information that's come out about COVID-19, you have your family unit that may be living in a house together. We don't view that as any different. So the students that will be living together within a unit, whether it's 2 people, 4 people, 6 people, that becomes your family within Housing and Residence Life at Kennesaw State. And so families, we all have guidelines for what life is like at our house now. I have 2 kids. Again, we have rules about how often we wash our hands, when we touch surfaces, when we come into the house, different things that we have to do just to protect ourselves. Not only being aware when you're outside of the house, but when you come back in, what are we going to do to keep each other safe? Because we are responsible for each other and our own safety. And so we're saying that each student is responsible for their own safety. Once they get inside that unit, they're with their family now. And so the family has to come up with the guidelines. We mentioned the roommate agreements that will be coming the first few weeks of school. Highly suggest you all talk about, who's buying the soap this week? Who's buying the hand sanitizers, the Lysol wipes, anything else? Because from a housing standpoint, once y'all move in, it's your space. We can't keep students safe without coming in there, and we're committed to students keeping themselves safe. For those parents that are struggling with the bunked options in University Village, I would say communicate with your roommates early and often, and just know that we didn't take that decision lightly. The bunk beds are here. They're getting installed this week. Mattresses are coming next week. They look awesome. For those of you that haven't been able to see it in person, it's probably not as scary as you're thinking it might be. The beds are very far apart. There's a lot of space within the unit in addition to the bunk beds. So it's going to come down to communication.
Yeah, and I think this is a good opportunity for you to talk to your student about just general cleanliness and good habits that they can create before coming to campus. I think a lot of students think that when they get here, we will take care of cleaning their apartments for them and things like that. We will clean it, and it will be spit spot when you move in. After that, it is totally up to you.
Yes.
So that's why those roommate agreements are really important, because it's like Chris said, like, you need to set up a chore chart for your apartment, and the overall cleanliness of your spaces are up to your students. So students, start picking up that Swiffer and a vacuum and some Lysol wipes and things like that, because in order to keep your space clean, it is completely up to you. And I know Chris touched on this at the very beginning, but one of the things that's great about Kennesaw, even in those shared rooms, is that they are going to be sharing a bathroom with one other person.
Right.
They're not going to be sharing it with 5 other people, just one other person. So there really is a great sense of privacy even in those rooms, because once they're in that unit, it's just them and that roommate, sharing that space. So I think that's just a great amenity that we're able to offer some of our students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will we be allowed to have guests come over to our apartments after the school year starts?
Yeah, so we touched on this a little bit when we were talking about the residential handbook, but yes, you can absolutely have guests come over. Your mom, your dad, your best friend can definitely come to see you. We will be adjusting our visitation policies a little bit to make sure that we are just keeping in mind health and safety because of COVID-19. So it could look a little bit different than in past years, but we will be updating that in a timely manner and making sure that you have it so that you can read over it before coming to campus. But to say that people can't come visit you and check out your residence hall in your room, no.
Yeah.
They can definitely come and see you. It just might look a little bit different than years before.
Right.
Will there be restrictions on the number of people that can help me on move-in day?
Ooh.
That's a great question.
That is a great question. So once again, we have done a lot of research of what other schools are doing, and it does appear, again, we haven't finalized anything, but it does appear that we are going to do that for students, and we will restrict the number of people that can come and help you, only for the safety of yourself and the other students and families that will be moving in. Moving is so exciting. You want the whole family to come along. Some families have made shirts in the past with their student's face on it, Chris is moving in fall 2022. Well, that hasn't even happened yet. But yes, we will be placing restrictions. What that looks like, we'll communicate when we have all the other move-in information.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, this is going to be the last question.
Okay.
So our last question is, how can I see this later? If I tuned in late, or if I want to watch this video again, or I want to show my student, they're not with me right now, how can I see this video later on after today?
Yeah, so it will be on our Facebook page, so you can visit our Facebook page and see it there. We've shared it on the housing Facebook page, or you can come back and see it on the orientation Facebook page. And then we will also post it on our website, so that you can go and visit our website, ksuhousing.kennesaw.edu. To be able to watch it back there. Yeah. One of the great things about these Facebook Live events is that we are able to interact with you and answer so many of your questions. And we know that housing is just one part of your students' experience here at Kennesaw. And some of our other partners in campus services will be hosting their own Facebook Live events. So you don't want to miss those. If you've got a pen and paper near you, make sure to write this down. It's also posted on a few websites. But July 1st at 2 p.m., Parking and Transportation and Talon One will be hosting a live event, which is great. So if you have questions about what the Talon One Service Center does for your student, what do parking permits look like for the fall and spring semester, you need to check out that Facebook Live event so you can ask your questions. July 8th at 2 p.m., the university stores, the bookstore, and Owl Tech will be doing a Facebook Live event. So they're going to be talking about what it's like to get textbooks, how can you save on textbooks, how we can serve your students' technology needs, and of course, how can you get all of that great KSU gear before coming to campus. On July 20th at 2 p.m., the most exciting one of all, we will be back to talk about all things move-in. So during that Facebook Live event is where we're going to get into all of the details. So maybe some of the questions that you didn't get answered today, come back because we're going to answer them on that day.
We'll have all the answers to every question.
Every question.
I can almost guarantee it.
We're so excited for that day. So July 20th, 2 p.m., we'll be back answering your questions. And then July 29th at 2 p.m., University Dining is going to be doing one where they're going to be able to talk about your questions on meal plans, dining dollars, all of those fun things to make sure that your student is being fed well when they get to campus. So don't miss those. Put them in your calendar because you're not going to want to miss them.
Yeah, and that's it for us today. Thank you for joining in. Thanks for watching and sharing this time with us. As always, you can find us on all social media platforms at Housing KSU. Please check those out, especially on Instagram. We have a lot of cool content.
Yeah.
There's a lot of our, what is that called? The news feed of the day, or I'm not on Instagram.
Good try. It was nice.
I tried. Tiffany behind the scenes told me once that I'm not hip, and she's definitely right. And then we're going to plug our podcast one more time, Live Your Nest Life.
Yes.
Every 2 weeks we drop a new episode on Mondays. So be on the lookout this coming Monday for episode 4.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.